Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update. And we are going to start things off by looking at this month and the next month that we have ahead of us and how they typically perform as far as Bitcoin's concerned. But we also know that September especially is typically quite a negative month for markets generally. Actually, for Bitcoin, it's its worst month. Now, there have been counter trends to this, like when we were in a bull market, being 2013, 2017, 2021, and of course, I believe we're in one right now, certainly for Bitcoin. And we could book that broader trend and average. However, I do think your August and September are going to be somewhat lackluster, and then that takes us into the most bullish time of the year. And I think there's a lot of things. We'll look at where Grayscale's Digital Large Cap and Bitwise's top 10 crypto fund are. They got approved by the SEC, then essentially a letter to stay, so to pause. But I do think you're actually going to see, certainly the ETF and ETP issuers I speak to, very much think September, October latest is when you're going to have broad clarity. So I really think we've got an amazing bullish end to the year ahead of us. My advice to people right now would be go and enjoy the sunshine if you've got it. Obviously, I live in Scotland, I live in the UK, so sunshine's a bit of a rarity here. Although we get beautiful countryside to contend with. So we are going to be starting off there. We'll be relating this to Bitcoin because it's not a bearish picture at all. There was some news from the CFTC. They're now launching an initiative to explore trading spot crypto asset contracts on CFTC regulated exchanges. So essentially federal exchanges. So we will be looking at this, what they have to say. It was issued by Caroline Pham, who we know has had a little bit to do with XRP. I'll be showing you that. Then there's rumors from the Wall Street Journal, or the source is the Wall Street Journal, that the Trump administration is preparing an executive order, another one, that will affect banks that discriminate against crypto firms, and conservatives with fines and penalties to institutions that debank individuals. We need that here. We looked at some interesting things coming out of the UK just yesterday, like George Osborne's comments, who was the ex-finance minister, on the UK falling behind. If you're a country, you need to embrace this technology. It's literally a matter of national security. And then we've got some other interesting news to share with you, like Moody's chief economist warns US on precipice of recession. So let's kick things off, as promised. We are in August. And typically August's returns, the median is minus 7%. So it actually has effectively the worst medium of any month, followed by September, then December. The average return is the second worst, I think. No, third worst. So the second worst would be June. The third worst would be September. And September, for like, if you look at S&P's average returns or Nasdaq's average returns or some of the large ETFs out there that are barometer for the stock market, September's typically not so great. August can be not so great as well, and of course June. But then that takes us into the most bullish months by far, October, November of the year. So you really need to kind of just get through what I don't think is going to be a horrific month, but a lackluster month, which is almost worse. When I used to do a lot of trading, months like that would just kill it because you'd get washed both ways and just nothing would happen, whereas you'd rather something was. We don't trade crypto. If I see a good setup, I will take it. But I think that retail should absolutely 100% stay away from trading crypto. It's pretty much a guaranteed way for them to lose money. And I know that from experience. I know that from secondhand experience. And I know that from also watching some of the greatest technical analysts I've ever known come up against a really tough adversary when it comes to trading the crypto market, certainly if you're using the futures market and you're using any kind of leverage. So this is going to be I would say, lackluster month. Now, that trend has been booked quite aggressively, actually, in bull market. So 2013, it saw a 30% gain. 2017, a 65% gain. 2021, a 13% gain. Are we going to book that trend again in this bull market that we're currently in? Potentially. But I would just expect that lusterness, like I say, that does carry over to the stock markets and markets more broadly, the seasonality to markets. You know, people probably away on holiday, Quite a low volume period generally. And September, people have got to kind of scramble to get back. And then you kind of get back to normality and the markets resume. So as far as Bitcoin's concerned, the plan really hasn't changed at all, in my opinion. This is in a broad uptrend. The last thing that we looked at was on the smaller time frames, potential flag-like structure setting up. I could still see this playing out, and that would potentially be bullish and counter-trend how August typically plays out. However, we shall see. It's an annoying flag, to be honest. So far, it's doing much the same thing that Bitcoin did here. We just haven't seen that real spike up yet. Whether we will or not, we'll see. But there is the potential for flag-like structure here that's going to coincide with the broader technical targets that we have to the upside over here. So we shall see. There was some pretty big news out of the CFTC yesterday. This is from Allincrypto. The CFTC is launching an initiative to explore trading spot crypto asset contracts on the CFTC regulated exchange, DCMs, and is seeking public feedback. It's part of the agency's broader crypto sprint announced last week by Chair Caroline Pham. It's not just the CFTC, it's the SEC also with Project Crypto that are literally looking to enable markets to come online. And that value for the underlying protocols that enable that, the public distributed ledgers, we'll talk about many of them on this channel. In fact, there's one that I really think is the dark horse, and you'll know who I'm talking about, of this market. I think it'll actually outperform the likes of XRP, and most of the cryptos out there. Anyway, this is the letter. It says, Acting Chair Pham launches spot crypto trading. Commodities Futures and Trading Commission, Acting Chair Caroline, announced today that the CFTC will launch an initiative for trading spot crypto assets that are listed on the CFTC regulated futures exchanges, designed contract markets or DCMs. So spot crypto. Okay? This is very much meaning that crypto is in the CFTC's domain. This is the first initiative in the CFTC's crypto sprint to start implementation of the recommendations in the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Market Report. Acting Chair Pham announced CFTC's crypto sprint last week. Under President Trump, I think it was largely overshadowed actually by what the SEC had to say and the PWG report. Under President Trump's strong leadership and vision, the CFTC is full speed ahead on enabling immediate trading of digital assets at the federal level in coordination with the SEC's Project Crypto, said Acting Chair. There is a clear and simple solution the CFTC can implement now. The Commodities Exchange Act currently requires that retail trading of commodities with leverage, margin, or financing must be conducted on the DCM. Starting today, we invite all stakeholders to work with us on providing regulatory clarity on how to list spot crypto asset contracts on the DCM using our existing authorities. As I have previously proposed since 2022, together we will make America the crypto capital of the world. The CFTC invites all interested stakeholders to submit feedback and suggestions on listing spot crypto asset contracts on the DCM, including Section 2 of the Commodities and Exchange Act, Part 40 of the CFTC regulations, and whether there are any implementations or implications under the securities law or regulations with respect to the SEC framework for trading of non-security assets that are part of investment contracts. So this is big news because it kind of takes spot trading crypto or trading crypto to the federal level. It's also, I think, a clear acknowledgement that these are non-security assets. And we've had confirmation of that pretty much all year. So this is a big deal. This is Caroline Pham, who is, of course, featured here with none other than Mr. Brad Garlinghouse. We also have, from the Wall Street Journal, the Trump administration is prepping an executive order that will affect banks that discriminate against crypto firms and conservatives, with fines and penalties to institutions that debank individuals. And we've seen a lot of that already, haven't we? You know, certainly Brad Garlinghouse had his self-debanked. I think that might have even been from Citi. I've spoken about my trials and tribulations. I have crypto in my company's name, and nobody would touch me. We don't deal in crypto. We just have crypto in the name, and literally everybody just said, no, we're not banking you. because they have to jump through so many hoops to do so. I mean, I have to pay to actually accommodate for the hoops they have to jump through. And I'm very happy with the bank that I have, and would like to do some stuff with them moving forwards because they've been very accommodated to me. Other news, we know that Grayscale's DLC, Digital Large Cap Fund, and Bitwise's BITW, these are two stocks that we've used to give us a bullish barometer for the space as a whole. We've been very right on these, and we think they've got substantially higher targets ahead of them. If these go up, well, it means the altcoin sector is likely going up, and this fundamental news is probably what's going to drive it. But a update on the situation from Grayscale and Bitwise's top 10. At very least, we should have clear idea of what's going on before the end of this month. SEC has scheduled comments for the Rule 431 reviewing Grayscale's DLC and Bitwise's BIT10. As a reminder, both were approved. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum constitute of 85% of the holdings, i.e. non-controversial. But the rule allows for the commissioners to pull a rule-approved delegated authority into purgatory. Of course, staying an approval at the 240-day deadline would violate Section 19 and the Exchange Act, which is unconstitutional. It goes on to say a commissioner rule of procedure. An administrative rule cannot trump a hard deadline encoded in legislation. Under Section 19, a rule that has not been denied in 240 days is deemed as approved. So you can't stay an approved rule decision after the clock runs out. So you will get clarity on these by the end of the month, which I think is a big deal. And it's going to open the floodgates. August, September's where I'm looking at. And that could align with September's more broad ETF approvals. Some interesting news. Here we have a man, very famous in the UK, who lost 8,000 Bitcoin in landfill and he's been looking for it for 12 years. He's now looking to pivot to tokenizing the legal claims. I mean, you want to gamble your money, do so. And there's obviously still headwinds more broadly in regard to the non-farm payroll and unemployment data that we had. And Moody's chief economist warns US economy on precipice of recession as tariffs, labour shortage trigger market sell-off. And everybody chooses to take here, which I agree with, is here we go again. I couldn't resist. I had to look up what he was saying in April, just prior to the epic 25% run. And you guessed it, recession coming, buckle up for a tough 2025. People are going to be wrong and wrong again, and we're starting to already recover the pullback that we saw. It's going to be interesting to see how markets open today. For me, I'm more interested in the dollar and ultimately what that's going to do. Sort of resurged yesterday, and that's leaning on things today, or today, and that's leaning on things today. Ladies and gents, that's it from me. I'm going to love and leave you all. It's always an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you all in the next one.